Drinking and driving will change your whole world. The next time you're out with friends, consider what would happen if you got pulled over after drinking, like the legal fees or the time in court or a DUI on your record. Your decision to drink and drive could change someone else's world too if you hurt or even kill them in a crash. Instead, what if a decision to call a sober ride changed your world for the better? Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
Did you know Microsoft has officially ended support for Windows 10? Upgrade to Windows 11 with an LG Gram laptop. Voted PC Mag's Reader's Choice Top Laptop Brand for 2025. Thin and ultra lightweight, the LG Gram keeps you productive anywhere. And Windows 11 gives you access to free security updates and ongoing feature upgrades. Visit lgusa.com/iHeart for great seasonal savings on LG Gram laptops with Windows 11. PC Mag Reader's Choice used with permission. All rights reserved.
Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Lands.
Thank you, Avril Lavigne. That was a great AI Avril Lavigne. I think that was a great introduction to our midweek episode, our last midweek episode of the 2025 year.
Yeah, and we're writing as a duo, the original duo for this episode.
Yes, unfortunately, Vince had better things to do than be here the New Year's Eve to record this episode. So all more power to you, Vince. I mean, you are a responsible man. So good job taking care of those responsibilities first and foremost.
What were they? I mean, were his kids even sleeping at his house tonight?
I think he was just he just you know,
wants
to be bossed around by his wife tomorrow morning. So I mean, he wants to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed for her, you know.
All jokes aside, Vince does have to be up really early tomorrow morning. Actually, while we're all still sleeping, Vince is going to be up and about.
Yeah.
So good night's sleep to you, Vince. Hopefully you get some good rest. Tomorrow's going to be a really long day. But luckily for him and for you and your families, a nice little vacation is on the way. So that should be fun.
That's right. We're flying New Year's Day, flying to Mexico for a week with Vince's family and all the children together. And if it was up to Vince, I mean, he would be like Philip Rivers and have 12 of them. But you know, smarter heads have prevailed. Let's get started.
Yeah, so this, just to remind everyone, this is our midweek show. We do call it the Fantasy Lens, where we take a deep dive into everything and anything fantasy specific. This week, we're doing a 2025 year in review, and we're going to talk about what happened to certain teams that had higher expectations, who are the surprises, and basically what that's going to do is it's going to allow us to tell you which players are behind these surprises or which players are behind these results. And it's going to go a long way to knowing what you should do with those players going forward. So, Nick, this is your not your idea, but this is your segment, if you will. So give them more details about what's coming.
Yeah. So just think of it as a year in review for 2025 for the first half of this season, which all happened in 2025. We're going to be discussing all of these different storylines, and we'll also be discussing what you might expect moving forward in 2026, or at least what we hope to expect maybe in some cases. So it's going to be interesting to see how teams move into certain positions going forward, how certain players might react, and how that affects you fantasy-wise.
All right, so
let's get started.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what happened to certain teams. There's certain teams that had higher expectations that seem to have kind of fallen down the wayside. And one of those was St. Louis. I mean, St. Louis last year had a surge to end the season, battling it out in the Western Conference to make a playoffs. They made the playoffs, right, last year, if I'm not mistaken?
They did.
Right. They were the last seed in, if I'm not mistaken.
Didn't they go to 7 games versus the Jets?
Yes. So it was, at least if if I'm remembering correctly, I think you're right. Um, it was a great run, and you kind of expected that to carry forward because they have pretty much the same pieces. There's Binnington, there's Hofer and Nets. They still had Broberg that they signed the RFA, Holloway, Neighbors. They were bringing in another guy in Snugerud that could help them out, right? So all of these things, Cairo was still there, Thomas. So all of these things, you're kind of expecting them to continue on the trajectory that they were on, but somehow they've completely fallen off a cliff. And I'm going to ask you, Junior, and then we'll kind of discuss this a little bit. But like to me, this is a surprise team. I was expecting them to continue. Uh, like, what's the reason that they're not performing this year? Like, made it? What made 2025 so hard for them?
I'm not quite sure. I think injuries had a big part. If you see, like, you have guys like Jake Neighbors only played 28 games, Jordan Carew 30 games, Snugerud 28. I mean, most of that. I mean, that's top six players right there missing at least close to 10 games or 8 to 10 games. That's a lot. That's a lot, especially all from your top six. And then more importantly, on the back end, you had a full season with Philip Broberg. I thought that was going to be much better. It's 13 points in 40 games. Maybe he's doing all the little things right, but offensively, not there. And probably the biggest surprise after scoring 12 goals last year, I believe. He scored 16 goals last year in 64 games. This year, 0 in 40. Colton Parayko has been a massive disappointment for St. Louis Blues, especially on a team that doesn't have much help in terms of offense from the back end. When guys like Broberg are cold, guys like Parayko are cold. I mean, how much can Justin Falk actually do on his own? Like, he can only carry them so far. You usually want a guy like Justin Falk to, like, help you survive the lull when they do go through a cold streak. But now we're like the halfway point of the season, and Justin Falk is your best point getter as a defenseman at 20 points in 40 games.
Yeah, I mean, let's follow it up there. I mean, Cam Fowler was brought in last season, and he kind of had a surge when he came in to the team. So far this year, he only has 1 goal and 14 points in 40 games, right? Like, Cam Fowler feels like he's fallen off a cliff. Not that not that he was ever a great point getter, but it just feels that he had a nice run at the end there with St. Louis. You were hoping that they was going to carry forward, and it seems to have not carried forward for him either. Um, Another one. What about Logan Mailloux?
Yeah.
We're talking about back end. They went out and they made a trade for Logan Mailloux, expecting him to be a part of this team this year. And maybe it's unfair. Maybe he's still too young, and there's another year coming for Logan Mailloux. But he didn't seem to stick around really. He's only played 27 games so far. Uh, 13 minutes of ice time a game. That's third pairing numbers. You were expecting a little bit more.
I think part of it is maybe we all expected too much from the young guys because they showed so much promise. Maybe we did expect a little too much from Mayu. 22 years old on a new team. Same thing for Snugrud. Maybe did we expect too much from him, seeing the success he had in the playoffs last year? Like Snugrud, where is he? I can't see him here. Snugrud.
He has 28 games, 6 goals, 6 assists, 12 points.
Not great. And like Dvorsky too. I thought he'd be much better as well. 30 games played, only 8 points. Especially with all the injuries, I thought with the opportunity he would have had his moments. And that didn't really work out.
They're both the rookies seem to have under expectations so far, but I mean they're rookies. If your
Yeah.
hopes were all on rookies, you're not really moving the needle, right? You're not really doing anything here that is like makes sense as an organization. Now, the good news is that they do have some rookies that are going to be coming up. They have some young players for the future, like Justin Carbonneau, like we just said Snugerud and Dvorsky. They have guys like Adam Juracek, who scored a gorgeous goal for the Czech Republic on D.
And they called up Otto Stenberg, and
Otto
he's been
Stenberg,
great. 4 points in 6 games since his call up. So
20 years old, right? Like these are all positives, but you just want to see a little bit more from some of these players.
literally in every single aspect, from every single position, they have underachieved this year.
Yeah.
Goaltending, the defense, team defense, forwards, depth players, young guys, young players, they've all underachieved, but yet only 1 point away from a playoff spot. You know, so
We talked
this,
about the West last episode, right? How it's a little bit of a, you have the top four teams in the Wild, the Jet, Vegas, Colorado, right?
yeah,
I'm missing someone. I can't remember who it was. The
Colorado,
Jets or
Dallas, Minnesota, and
yeah, Dallas.
Vegas, and possibly Edmonton, I guess.
Right, but Edmonton's not doing great.
Yeah, but they're only a point away from Vegas for top in the division. I mean, we'll get to them, I'm
cr-
sure, later, right? But
It's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know about that, but it's for St. Louis. It's I feel like 2026. You could have a flip of the script here, right? You started off really slow, but you still have all of these players that should have been doing better, should be doing better. I think it should be something that's possible for them to kind of turn it around, right? Because if not, you're really in the McKenna sweepstakes at the end.
yeah, I can see them turning it around. I agree. And so, like, let's put it this way from a fantasy perspective. Buchnevich is pacing for 40 points or so, just over 40 points. Over under 40 points for Buchnevich at the end of the year.
I would say over. Like Buchnevich is a good player. He shouldn't be this bad. Believe me, I know. I have him in Lama. He shouldn't be this bad. Like, if you take a small, I'm not gonna say deep dive, but if you take like a shallow dive into Buchnevich's numbers here, you're seeing like a shooting percentage that's a little bit lower than what he usually has, right? 10% as opposed to his career average of 14%. So right there, you could tell that he's a little bit lower in that sense. He's shooting less this year than he has been in the last 7 years. He's at 1.7 shots per game as opposed to 1.9, 2.6, 2.0, 2.7, 2.2. Like, these things make a difference, right?
Yeah.
His ice time is a little bit lower. I won't say like crazy amounts lower, but this is a player that could rebound. I don't just. It feels like there's more to give with Buchnevich here. He just turned 30. He can't be that he just fell off a cliff and forgot how to play.
I agree. There should be more there, but he is starting to show signs of a possible pattern. And once it becomes a pattern, then there's no coming back from it. So, is this the beginning of the end of Pavel Buchnevich as a relevant fantasy player? Because at 40 points for a forward, not very relevant. I mean,
Okay, so
at his salary, even in cap leagues and deep leagues, gets risky.
I think this is his first year in an $8 million salary.
Yikes.
Right? So, yeah, like I'm expecting more out of him. But I think it's hand in hand with Robert Thomas. So last year, Robert Thomas was on pace for 95 points. He ended up with 81 points in 70 games. Okay. The year before that, on pace for 86 points, he actually got 86 points. The year before that, 73-point pace. The year before that, 87-point pace. This year, 66-point pace. And he's at his highest shooting percentage ever in his career. And he's still at a 66-point pace. Like something's got to give with Robert Thomas here. I mean, he's not this bad of a player. He should be a better player than this. And that's why I feel like there's a possibility for a positive regression.
And a lot of that's going to have to do with the relationship of Montgomery and Jordan Kyrou. Jordan Kyrou was recently scratched because of the details of the game that he wasn't able to execute. And that's a big problem because that's a 35-goal scorer. That goes a long way in making everybody feel good about themselves. And now what's happening is, the whole point of having a team and having depth is that when one guy is slowing down, another guy is able to pick up his game and make up for that difference. You know, Robert Thomas is struggling. Okay, Jordan Kyrou is going to take over now, and he's going to try to lead this team. Oh, he's struggling. Okay, here comes Dylan Holloway. You know, they always had someone who would pop at the right time.
Yeah.
And this year, nobody's popping. Period.
Yeah, and like I mean, Kairou's got to move. They got to move him. It's clear that he's just not jiving anymore in St. Louis. He needs a change of scenery. I don't think St. Louis is doing anything good anyways this season. Try to trade him, and maybe they are trying to trade him. Like, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
like, this is not a TMZ segment necessarily, but they almost traded him last year. There was rumors of him moving to, I think, the Habs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the Habs were heavily interested, and then it ended up being Bolduc, I guess. So, but
That's right. So if if this guy needs a change of scenery, it's time. It's time. Like, he's got to move.
it's borderline distraction at this point.
Agreed. Let's talk about a team that has a lot of distractions.
Oh boy.
Another team in the West that, and maybe this is a surprise for me more than it is for you. We kind of spoke about them a little bit in our last episode, but I didn't want to get into too deep of a tangent on the Vancouver Canucks. Now I want to go deep. I want to talk about the Vancouver Canucks because I expected this team to be much better this year than they were last year because they got rid of their supposed distraction in JT Miller. Okay? Oh, and by the way, I don't know if you remember, but the year before that, they had another supposed distraction in their captain Bo Horvat that they traded away. Right? So now you traded away Bo Horvat. You traded away JT Miller. Elias Pettersson is left all alone in Vancouver it's your team now, do whatever you want with this team. And unfortunately, although he has played he came back last game, he scored a goal, but like, Vancouver is just not in a position to win. They signed Denko to those 5-year contract, if I'm not mistaken, or 4. They're expecting to compete. They're expecting to be in the mix. And right now, is the recent trade of Bouillon, Rossi, and Ogren going to make their 2026 better? And what is the problem in Vancouver? Was it JT Miller? Was it Bo Horvat? Because right now it doesn't seem like that was the problem.
It almost seems like the problem in the end was Elias Pettersson. And maybe they tried to salvage that by getting rid of everybody around him, but now he's the only one left. If he can't get it going now, I mean, this could go down as one of the biggest failures from a management perspective in a long time, because maybe they didn't need to blow it up. Maybe they just sacrificed the wrong players. Maybe Miller was onto something. He might not have had the right ways to go about it, but maybe they should have looked deeper into it and see that maybe Pettersson was the cancer of that locker room, not because he's a bad person, not because he's not a good player, but maybe because he just didn't have the heart and the will like everybody else around him to be better. And look, he's still young. I'm not giving up on that. And he did go through a bit of personal stuff, him and his wife, and I think they might have lost a baby if I'm not mistaken. So like, there's
if that's true, that's very very traumatizing.
So like there's personal things that go on in their lives that obviously we don't always know about, and rumors come out, and we don't know what's true and what's not. But everybody's going through that kind of stuff at some point, and maybe it was just a storm that hit Pettersson all at once, and maybe he's just finding his way out. And eventually, after this trade with the young guys they got, maybe they're going to build something new. I personally like the way they're set up to keep going forward. I don't think it's going to happen overnight. But yeah, I'm. This is the least convinced I am about Elias Pettersson than I ever was before.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I don't want to take this into like a mental health tangent or anything like that, because we don't know what people are going through, and we definitely support mental health in males, in people in
All
general.
beings, yeah.
All beings. Take care of yourself, take care of your mental health, and this is not an indictment on his mental health. If his mind isn't into it because of whatever happened or whatever off the field or off the season,
Off the
whatever
ice.
you want to call it, off the ice, things that happened, I could understand. It's difficult. It's not easy, um, but it's just as a fantasy podcast right now, we have to look forward into 2026 and say to ourselves, where can we find value on the Vancouver Canucks? Is there some hidden gem? Is there someone that we could say that, you know what, has value moving forward? Like Sherwood might be traded, and he's been on the market from the beginning. People are, saying that he's going to be traded soon. Brock Besser isn't doing well, right? I
Nope.
mean, but we've said it from the beginning. Brock Besser is a person that feeds off of a good center. He doesn't create anything on his own. He's just a finisher. So Pedersen and Besser together usually works out because Pedersen is the creator. But I'm looking at this roster. There's really not much here. Braden Coots for Team Canada seems like he's doing all right. He's going to be a pretty good player for them, but probably not a top liner. The Karimaki's kind of fallen off the face of the planet. I don't know if this guy's going to ever make it to the NHL and if he's ever going to be good. Zeev Buium is cold, but I mean, he just got here. Elias Pettersson is cold. Evander Kane is cold. I'm not seeing a lot of positives moving forward, other than the fact that Buium is young, so he's going to have a long field ahead of him. So is Ogren, and so is Rossi.
I'll give you a positive, and it's the fact that Thatcher Demko's numbers are really good. But, the usual, right? Injuries. Was injured again this year.
Yeah.
I think even on 2 separate occasions. So, I mean, there's good news in the sense that even coming back from what we thought might have been something chronic, he was still able to perform at a really high level. But again, he's officially a loose leaf paper, borderline papier mâché, would you say? But like you and Vince were really high on him, and I was like, guys, there's no way I'm touching that, right? But
he's a good goalie, man.
He's backed it up with numbers. The problem is availability, right?
Right. I mean, thank God we have other goalies in the DPR league to save us, like Wallstad. So every time Demko gets injured, we can just bring up Wallstad and we're fine. But yeah, I mean, 908 save percentage for Demko is very good. You don't love the 8 wins, but I mean, the team is so mediocre around him. You don't expect a lot of wins.
And we mentioned it last episode. At least I did towards the end there as an honorable mention. But Brock Besser, 1 goal in his last 19 games.
Yeah.
DeBrusk, 1 goal in his last 16. Garland, 1 goal in his last 12 games. Evander Kane, 1 goal in his last 11 games. If I were to ask you today, right now, out of those 4 players, who's more likely to have a breakout second half of the season?
I think Bezer, if Elias Pettersson, he's reliant on Elias Pettersson, but if he starts playing with Elias Pettersson again, because right now I think the last lines that I saw, he was with David Kampf.
According to Daily Faceoff, right now, he's on a line with Pettersson and Evander Kane.
So I could see him kind of bouncing back a little bit because of that.
And
we'll see.
And DeBrusk, I believe, was a healthy scratch last game.
Doesn't make any sense.
So I'm curious. I maybe before we move on, but I want to know your thoughts on Ogren, Rossi, and Garland as a line. Ogren got a promotion to the top 6.
I love it.
I think that's a nice line.
I mean, if you're like, to me, I look at Ogren play, and I say, and please don't take this the wrong way, I think he's Evander Kane already. I think he might even be better.
That's
than
high
Evander
praise
Kane.
because Evander Kane in his prime.
I mean, I'm talking about Evander Kane now. I think he's better than Evander Kane now.
Yeah, not hard to beat, but
so if Evander Kane is on the top line, supposedly to make room, use his big body to make room for guys like Pettersson and Bezer, right? Um, I'd put Ogren there. I think he's already better.
Yeah, I agree. I think Ogren, I mean, he's a little cold right now, but
So is the whole team.
I mean, you're not playing for anything. So give these guys as much opportunity as you can with the players that can make them better. And yeah, I agree with you 100% on that one. And I think there's a player worth mentioning. Flies a little bit under the radar, but always manages to hit or pace for 40 to 45 to 50 points as a defenseman, and that's Philip Roenick. The only
Yeah.
downfall for Philip Roenick is he doesn't score goals.
Yeah.
But he still ends up usually pacing for 45 to 50 points. And if he finishes with that amount, as we say very often, that's top 20.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, they have some players. And what's his name? The young kid that has been since Hughes left, his role has grown. Tom Willender. He's been
Yes.
better of late. He's been much better of late.
Still very young, right? Him and Buim are both 20-year-old defensemen. And then you have an Elias Pettersson, not that Elias Pettersson, the other Elias Pettersson, because, Marcus Pettersson and Elias Pettersson and the other Pettersson,
I think they call him DPD.
DPD, is only 21 years old, right? So you have three guys that are quite young that are in the lineup. So you kind of expect a little bit of leakage, but they're quite good prospects, players moving forward. Like just to cap it, I think on the Vancouver Canucks is, your management is in trouble when they go out and take all the Pedersons from every other team and collect them as Infinity Stones, because at the end of the day, there's no reason for you to do this. There's no reason for you to go out and grab all the Pedersons. It's silly. It doesn't make any sense. Like, I know you like Swedish players, but this is just outright silly. Anyways,
Maybe they needed to find a way to be relevant.
yeah, get more
Might not have been
Pedersons.
the right way.
Okay, so we've kind of discussed Toronto ad nauseum. They seem to have been bringing it back lately. Like they would win one or two games, lose a game, win a couple of games. So this is like, I'm talking about the last week or 2 weeks, right? So that's good. Their power play is doing good. Edmonton is the other team that we've discussed at nauseum in previous episodes. They're not having the season that you were expecting necessarily. And right now, the rumors are that Mangiapane is on his way out, because guys like, I'm trying to remember his name now, Ike Howard is moving up, and guys like Hughes, not Quinn Hughes, but the other Hughes brother,
Yeah.
is starting to do pretty well. You wanted to mention his first name, or it looked like you were about to mention his first name?
No.
Okay.
I was going to
And-
mention Savoie.
Yeah, like guys like Savoir are doing better and better. But Edmonton went out and made a trade to improve their goaltending.
For 2 games.
For 2 games, and then he got injured. While Toronto fired their power play coach. Are these changes enough to make these teams consistent contenders, like move back into contention window
Look, I've been pretty
for
hard on both.
2026?
I've been pretty hard on both these teams, and I need to give credit to Toronto for starting to turn things around, especially with all the injuries they have. They just beat New Jersey without Austin Matthews, without Dakota Joshua, without William Nylander, without Tanev, and without did I say Dakota Joshua? Anyways,
Yeah.
just without Matthews and Nylander. It's
Well,
something.
I mean, those are the two big ones, right?
It was 4-0. I think Wool, did he end up getting the shutout there?
Yes, he did.
That's a big victory. That's a team that hasn't given up on this year.
Well, McCabe
and-
had something like 5 block shots, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I have to go back and look at it, but
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I saw a very interesting tweet today on X by Michael Amato. He goes, something that isn't talked about enough and is becoming a problem is how many shots Austin Matthews blocks. Third this year in the NHL among forwards and only one behind the two leaders. It's admirable, but also too risky for your superstar to be playing that way.
That's interesting.
That's very interesting. And look, he's injured again. I don't know if it was due to a blocked shot or whatnot, but you can't have your. I get it. You want your superstars to be two-way players, know how to play in their own end. But sacrificing your body in the regular season at the cost of offensive production that your team needs to facilitate a spot into the playoffs, I'm not sure that's a win. You know what I mean? You want to do that in the playoffs, by all means, everyone's got to do that in the playoffs. That's what it takes to win. But you still need to get there. And your superstar, your franchise player, needs to score 60 goals. He doesn't need to block 60 shots. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I just thought it was an interesting
It's interesting.
stat.
It is interesting. I think it's the Berube style. That's the Berube style, right? Block all the shots, kind of like a John Tortorella style. Make sure nothing goes to the net. Anything you could block, you block. And I think that they've gone out and they've grabbed players that actually do a lot of that. Guys like McCabe, Tanev, Ekman Larson, right? Benoit. These are all guys that actually I'm not so sure about Benoit. Let me just double check. Yeah, okay. I mean, he blocks shots as well, like about 100, over 100 shots, block shots per season over the last few seasons. You know, McCabe also over, like all of these guys over like Tanev is insane. He's almost at 200 blocks per season.
That's wild.
But all these guys kind of have that same mentality. So I get it. It makes sense. Expect injuries, like you said, right? Matthews is a lower body injury, so that's why he didn't play against the Devils. The Devils. Like, how embarrassed are you right now?
Oh my gosh.
Like, you made Scott Lawton look like a top sixer. Like, embarrassing. You know, Matthew Nyes and Heischer fought, by the way.
I saw that off the draw, yeah. Saw
Right?
that.
Like a setup fight. I don't understand what the Devils are doing.
They're
They're
a
not
mess.
good.
They're
They're
a
not
mess.
good. Dougie Hamilton fell off a cliff
Dougie
because you're
Hamilton.
putting Luke Hughes in there as if he's your godsend. He's not doing. I mean, let me just hold on before I say something.
He hasn't
like that,
been
but
doing as well as people expected.
not as well as advertised.
Then Nemec got hurt, and he was actually doing really well. You know, they hadn't had Pesci. Pesci was out for a while. That hurts too. Hughes was out for a while, but like a lot of these guys are back.
Luke Hughes is on pace for 40 points this season.
Not bad, but
Not great.
you know,
Not what you're expecting out of Hughes.
correct.
He's playing 23 minutes a night.
And we're
know
talking
what I
about Luke Hughes, obviously, in case
Luke Hughes,
people
yes,
tuned
not
in at
Quinn
the wrong
Hughes.
time, or Jack.
Not Jack Hughes, no.
But
You know?
yeah, look, it's
the
going to
other
be
brother.
interesting. It's going to be interesting because there's a lot of teams that many expected to make the playoffs that are on the outside looking in, and I don't think they can all make the playoffs at this point. So it's going to be really interesting to see which ones don't. Just are you done with Toronto? I was going to touch on Edmonton a little bit, but
Yeah, we'll go right back. I'm done with Toronto. We'll go right back to Edmonton. I just want to mention Dougie Hamilton, 21 minutes of ice time per game, 0 points in his last 16 games. He's on pace for 19 points in the season. Like, what is that? Like $9 million. What is that?
it's not good.
It's not good.
Not good.
Anyways, back to Edmonton because I didn't have
Yeah,
New Jersey as
we don't need to go too much into detail with Toronto as to which players are going to turn around and which won't. Like we all know, their stars are going to be stars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those guys that are fantasy relevant will stay fantasy relevant as long as they're healthy. I think with Edmonton, the biggest turnaround, the biggest factor I think for this turnaround has been Zach Hyman. Since he's come back, this team has been a completely different
yes.
machine.
Well
A complete different machine. And Jarry was well when he played well in the 2 games that he played before he got hurt. But credit to Connor Ingram and Calvin Pickard, who have picked it up since Jarry's injury. And, McKinnon, McDavid, and Draisaitl have been on an absolute tear this past month or two. I mean, Draisaitl has 25 points in his last 13 games. And McDavid has 33 points in his last 13 games.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're doing what they can. And to tell you the truth, I know they're superstars, but sometimes we expect so much from them that sometimes we're afraid to say that they need to be better. They needed to be better. Because now their numbers make sense, after this run of points that they just went on. But prior to that, they needed to be better, and I think people started noticing and calling them out. And look, they showed up now, and the Oilers are back in the picture. They're a point away from first in the division.
Yeah, I think Edmonton's 2026 outlook looks very good. I think Toronto's 2026 outlook looks good as soon as everybody gets healthy.
Quinn Hudson,
yeah, that's it. So in 2026, I think that both of these teams will rebound. I'm just not sure. Like, injuries play a big role in this, right? If Austin Matthews is still injured, if Nylander is injured, like, as much as we love the win against New Jersey today, I don't think this is a playoff team at that point.
Look, if Matthews is injured, goes to the Olympics, where it's playoff hockey,
it's going to be a long season. It's going to be a long season.
He's going to go whether he's 100% or not. I can guarantee you Austin Matthews is going to the Olympics.
Absolutely.
That's not good for Toronto, and for anybody else, whose player is not 100% that's going to be going to the Olympics. I mean, look, if Suzuki for the Canadians makes it to the Olympic team, he doesn't seem right, even though he had a hell of a game today. He just doesn't seem right. So that would hinder them as well. But look, sticking to Toronto and Edmonton, bounce back. I still think Toronto has a hard road to make the playoffs, just because they're competing with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 other teams that are right now not in the playoff picture. And some of those teams are teams that made the playoffs last year. The Senators, the Rangers, the Devils. Did the Rangers make it last year?
No.
They did not.
No.
The Bruins?
No.
No. Interesting.
Not from what I remember.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so either. But look, they're going to have to knock out some teams. And out of the teams that did not make the playoffs last year in the Eastern Conference, there's the Red Wings and the Canadians, the Islanders and the Flyers.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we move on to more positive things, because I think we were overly negative to start this episode, 37 minutes into this episode, which is supposed to be a short one, right? But this is what happens when Vince is not here.
We talk and
me
talk.
and you just talk and go on tangents. And
Did you know Microsoft has officially ended support for Windows 10? Upgrade to Windows 11 with an LG Gram laptop. Voted PC Mag's Reader's Choice Top Laptop Brand for 2025. Thin and ultra lightweight, the LG Gram keeps you productive anywhere. And Windows 11 gives you access to free security updates and ongoing feature upgrades. Visit lgusa.com/iHeart for great seasonal savings on LG Gram laptops with Windows 11. PC Mag Reader's Choice used with permission. All rights reserved.
Hey, this is Steve Gorman, radio host, sports commentator, former drummer for the Black Crowes. The winter holidays are here, a time for festive celebrations, family gatherings, and ringing in the new year. Whether it's a holiday party, a night out with friends, or just relaxing by the fire with a few drinks, it's a season full of good cheer. But here's something else to add to your holiday plans, a safe and sober ride home. Just like in sports and music, always have a game plan. And the most important part of any plan is sticking to it. If you plan to drink, take that plan a step further. Call a rideshare, a taxi, a sober friend, or have a designated driver lined up before the night begins. Drinking and driving is a decision that can change your life and the lives of others forever. A DUI, a crash, an injury. The consequences are real and lasting. So please, for your sake and for everyone else on the road, make the smart choice. Get a sober ride home. Drive sober or get pulled over. Paid for by NHTSA.
And we keep talking hockey, and this is why we do the podcast, because we love talking hockey.
This kind of episode was always going to be long.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. But just a word from our sponsor before our sponsor stops supporting us here. DraftKings, the jaw-dropping moments that make hockey hockey. Experience them all with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Missouri listeners, listen up. DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in the Show Me state. New customers, this one's for you. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, pass-through of per-wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets, which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright NHL 2025. All rights reserved.
Good job.
All right, so let's continue here with our surprise starts to the season. So more of a positive spin on 2025. And, we're doing this because the year is literally ending in 1 day from now. So by the time this audio goes live, I think it's going to be New Year's Eve. So you'll get to listen to us for 2026 at least. The surprise starts to the season for me so far, you have to mention Colorado. Colorado, ladies and gentlemen, it's halfway through the season, pretty much. Colorado has 2 losses.
Two regulation losses.
2 regulation losses, fine. It's not a surprise that Colorado's a good team. It's not a surprise that they're a contender. But it is a surprise that they only have 2 regulation losses all season. I mean, do we just hand them the President's Trophy now? Do we hand them the Stanley Cup as well? Because, I mean, at this point, they're kind of unstoppable here.
They've been a menace, but let me tell you how important availability is. Landeskog, McKinnon, Natchez, Lehkonen, Brock Nelson, Victor Olofsson, Ross Colton, Parker Kelly, Jack Drury, Devin Taves, Cale Makar, Josh Manson, Brent Burns, Sam Malinsky all played 38 of 38 games. The only prominent player or relevant player to miss games was Valery Nichushkin, who missed 8 games.
Yeah.
That goes a long way. That explains a lot of what's happening. Colorado was always a good team. But when healthy, man, they're a beast. They're a beast. Yeah. And to top it all off, the one position where they did get injuries, they had the depth to overcome it. And it's almost like Wedgwood was even better than Blackwood. So, look, 215 goals against average for Blackwood. 213 goals against average for Scott Wedgwood. Save percentages of 923 and 918. Quality starts of 9 and 15. Blackwood has 9 quality starts out of 14 games, and Wedgwood 15 out of 24. I mean, these are ridiculous numbers, and some might say, oh, there's a regression coming. because they split games, I don't think there's going to be much of a regression. It's not like they're overplaying or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually see Blackwood playing more. Like now that the second half of the season is going to start, and 2026, I think he is going to play more. But Junior, in 2025, they had 56 goals in the last 14 games to end the season, to end the year. 56 goals in the last 14 games.
That's wild.
That's nuts. It's absolute. That's more than. Oh wait, don't make me math. I'm gonna math. Let's pull out the calculator here. But 56 divided by 14, that's 4 goals per game, average, in the last 14 games. That's nuts. So they're giving the goalies the runway. The goalies are playing well already. You know, Makar, Devin Taves, Josh Manson, Brent Burns, 41-year-old Brent Burns. And they've all played 38 games.
And you would think that with all the success they've had and all the stars they have on that team, that their power play would be among the league best. And they're 27th in the league.
So there's room for improvement, ladies and gentlemen.
There's room.
The Colorado freaking Avalanche could actually be better in 2026.
And look, I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, but they have 7 overtime wins or whatever, or 7 overtime losses.
Come on.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
This is
everybody
historic.
has access to overtime losses. Okay? If your team's not good enough to get it to overtime, tough luck. It's your problem. It's not Colorado's problem. That's 7 extra points they banked that your team didn't. So, you know what? It's still very impressive.
Let's move on to maybe what could be considered the biggest surprise in 2025. And that would be the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. And yes, I'm still calling them Mighty. The Anaheim Mighty Ducks are 12th in the entire NHL so far. And they're doing it on the backs of really young players. Yes, they went out and they traded for and received guys like Kreider. Granlund was a free agent signing, right? Paling, that was somebody that they picked up this year. Killorn they had already. Ryan Strome they had already.
Well, they had traded for Trouba and they had traded for Gudas.
They signed
too.
Lacombe. They signed Lacombe long term, right? But the Gudas and Trouba thing was the previous year.
Yeah.
Right? One of their star defenders or young prospects that were supposed to be coming in, Minchukov, doesn't really seem to have made a difference. They traded away Gibson, right? So right when they finally start getting good, they trade away Gibson. It's just funny. But like, okay, so they've been cold lately. Okay, they started off the year super hot. And actually, maybe the biggest change that happened for this team is that they went out and they got a coach.
Yeah.
Right? So, his name escapes me for some reason.
Quenneville.
Yeah, Quenneville, that's it. So, surprising starts from Seneca. Cutter Gauthier has been a revelation. Leo Carlson is top 5 in the league in scoring, in points, right? Like, are we seeing the start of a dynasty in the West?
Oof. I think they still got a bit of work to do. I think you're seeing they're 3-6-1 in the last 10 games. It's made them drop a little bit in the standings. Edmonton's gotten closer. And that's a result of having so many young players that were such a big part of your success early on. The good news in all of this is they have a coach that's experienced, so that's going to be able to navigate through this lull and not make it drag to 8. You know, like how the Canadians, when they were young and They had unexperienced coaching. It was going to 7, 8, 9 games in a row where they hadn't gotten a point or hadn't had a win in regulation. I think Quenneville will help avoid streaks like that. And on the second thing that's important to know is the Olympic break is going to help these young guys a lot as well. Last year, we saw the difference that the Four Nations break did to a lot of these young guys. A lot of them avoided hitting a major wall and were able to bounce back after that. So I look for this team to fight for a playoff spot, but I wouldn't be surprised if they end up finding themselves on the outside looking in. But in terms of dynasty, I mean, they're building towards that. They still have a bit of work to do, though.
Okay, so for 2026 outlook, right? Does Anaheim continue what they started, even though they've had a lull lately? Do they get back to their winning ways in 2026? Do they make the playoffs? Like, what's 2026 looking like for them?
I think 2026 looks good. I think they're gonna be in a fight for a playoff spot, which is exactly what you want Anaheim to do right now. I think the expectations might have changed by the fan base seeing them start so hot, right? But if you had asked them at the beginning of the year, "Oh, Anaheim is fighting for a playoff spot," they would have taken that with their eyes closed.
Yeah.
So I think the outlook in 2026 from a realistic perspective is good because they're going to fight for a playoff spot. They might get in, they might not. Regardless, just that experience of being in the hunt is going to be huge for these young players going forward. And I think you're going to keep seeing the evolution of guys like Leo Carlson, who right now has 0 points in 5 games. That's not going to last long. Cutter Gauthier, I don't know if we speak of him enough, and we speak of him a lot.
We do speak of him a lot.
19 goals in 39 games.
Yeah.
38 points in 39 games. He's a point per game player. Almost 22 years old. You know, Beckett Seneca, that's a player I'm curious to see how this 2026 goes. You know, a lot of times when a young player does something so good unexpectedly, it usually comes with, those are usually the players that end up getting that sophomore, hitting that sophomore wall that Vince likes to call, right? Or is it the slump or whatever it is he calls it? So I'm curious to see what Beckett Seneca, what kind of second half he'll have. But in general, the outlook for the Anaheim Mighty Ducks is good, and Lucas Dostal is going to pick it up. I know he's hit a bit of a lull lately, but I expect him to pick it up and keep Anaheim in the hunt for the playoffs.
Yeah, I think Quenneville, like you said before, is a big factor in that. I think the Olympic break is going to be a big factor in that, giving them a rest. And because of those two things, I believe that Anaheim will also have a good 2026 and possibly sneak into the playoffs. All right. Here's another question for you. In 2025 so far, we've seen, some teams that have been rebuilding. One of the surprises appears to me, at least, to be the San Jose Sharks. The future is teal, and they might actually be finished their rebuild. Don't get me wrong, there's still some development that needs to be done, okay? But they have the pieces. They don't need necessarily many more pieces in order to become a competitive team moving forward. They have the talent out of the wazoo from these young players. Like, I'm looking at guys like Celebrini, okay? Top 5 in scoring. Might make Team Canada, probably playing with Nathan McKinnon.
Top 3 as of tonight.
Top 3 in scoring. This guy is absolutely phenomenal. You have a guy like Will Smith. You have Chernyshov, who, is just benefiting from being with Celebrini all the time. You have Askarov. You have Misa, who's playing for the World Juniors right now. I just mentioned to you 6 guys right there. Like, and there's still more coming. Like, for me, San Jose right now just looks like they have all of these pieces. William Eklund is still young. They have all of these pieces that they could actually be done the rebuild. They don't need to collect assets anymore. They could start, developing these guys, surrounding them by veterans, and maybe start competing.
I think you nailed it on. You nailed the. You nailed it. You nailed the nail on the head. Whatever. You hit the nail on the head when you said veterans. I think they need to bring in now. Now's the time where you have your young guys. Celebrini's already an NHLer. He's pretty much developed, if you ask me. Eklund is at the final stages of his development because he's been there already a couple of years. Smith is a tier below Celebrini in terms of development, but he's almost there. So like now you got to bring in a Toffoli type player that's like 3-4 years younger than him or something. You know what I mean? Like to kind of like what Anaheim did with Kreider. They brought in Kreider when he's still valuable. He can still bring offense to the team. They brought in a guy like Chuba. I think that's the point where the San Jose Sharks are at. They still need an offensive punch, but a veteran offensive punch. And
Yeah.
And the one thing I want to add is I think Celebrini deserves and should be in discussion for MVP.
Ooh.
Because San Jose, as we speak, is in a wild card position. And
Is that nuts?
that is nuts. And let me tell you why. Also, I just need to pull it up here. He's third in the league in scoring with 60 points. Second on the San Jose Sharks in points, Alexander Wemberg, and no, it's Will Smith with 29.
And he's been injured.
He's got double the points. He's got double the points of his second best point producer on his team. He is single-handedly dragging this team into a playoff race at 19 years old.
Yeah. Okay.
Say what you want. That's MVP freaking caliber, man.
Very interesting. Very interesting. I like the take. Could be a bold take, even. Let me talk to you.
Let me talk to you.
Let me talk to you. Just a tad. You mentioned all the forwards.
Let me talk to you.
You mentioned all the forwards. Okay. Have you mentioned the upcoming defenseman?
No, I did not.
Sam Dickinson. Okay.
Mm.
Luca Cagnoni. Cagnoni. Did I stutter?
La 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 Fontaine.
Salin Wallinius, playing for Sweden right now. Okay. Like Jack Thompson. Okay, fine.
Mukma Doolin, if you want like a depth defenseman.
Yeah.
Still young.
Okay, so we mentioned Askarov.
You did not, but you did now.
Okay, so Askarov, 23 years old. And right behind him, I mean, Najakovic is right now like the 1A, 1B, whatever. Then you have Joshua Ravensbruggen. Just Team Canada, whatever. 19 years old. Coming up the pipeline. Like, they're done. They're done. Junior, they're done the rebuild. The rebuild is over in San Jose. And they did it faster than Chicago. They did it faster than other teams. I was going to say Buffalo, but Buffalo's actually winning lately.
Well, they did it faster than Anaheim too. I mean, Anaheim is where they want to be now, but I'm saying they did it faster than Anaheim.
Yeah.
They've definitely done it faster than Detroit.
Faster than Ottawa.
You can argue they did it faster than the Montreal Canadiens. And you know what? I was very skeptic, and I really did not like the hire when they hired Mike Greer. And his first year on the job, I was questioning everything: his draft selections, his moves. Man, he made me eat my words. He's got my respect. That guy turned this team around and has them potentially being a force. It's going to be the Battle of California for the next 10 years, man.
Yeah. All right. That's it for our surprise starts to the season. I want to talk about two honorable mentions for the first half of this season, which is the 2025 year end. And I'm going to mention them. Like, this is going to be quicker takes. It's already running an hour, this episode. Vince. What did you miss? Um, but let's talk a little bit about the New York Islanders as an honorable mention for the 2025 season. We predicted Roy would have a positive effect on this team after having a full offseason and some nice draft pieces that occurred. They lost Noah Dobson, but Schaefer has been an absolute revelation as a defenseman, just a player.
This early in his career, for
Like
sure.
this at 18 years old, just who didn't even play last year that much, is having this big of an impact in the NHL is absolutely mind-boggling as a start to his career in 2025. And because of that, I had to mention them as the honorable mentions here. Can they keep it up in 2026? Can the Islanders make the playoffs again? You know, Bo Horvat is having a resurgence to his career. Vancouver could have used that. Matthew Barzal's doing pretty good. Like he's doing pretty well here. Drouin, not so much.
Sometimes good, sometimes not
Sometimes
so good.
maybe good, sometimes maybe Drouin. Emil Heineman is doing better than Drouin right now. Has also played for 6 more games. But they've had a lot of injuries. You know, like what do we think about the Islanders moving forward in 2026?
I mean, I don't see why not to expect more of the same. Their best players are being their best players. Matthew Schaefer is being a star in the making. And to top it all off, Sorokin seems to be back
Oh, he's injured right now. But yes, you mean back into form. Like
to
he was
form.
playing really
Yeah,
well,
255 goals against average, 909 save percentage. David Rittich has held his own in his absence at 227 goals against average and 917 save percentage. 12 quality starts out of 16 games played for David Rittich.
Yeah, he's doing very well, David Rittich.
Very well. So you want to talk about streaming a goalie, especially when Sorokin's injured? Why not David Rittich? And
We
a
spoke
shout-
about Vladar
You're right.
last episode, right? Rittich is another one that's doing really well, and I think they were both used to be Calgary goaltenders at one point,
Yeah.
right?
Actually, Calgary just signed Devin Cooley to an extension, the backup goalie. I just want to do it while we're talking about the New York Islanders. Shout out to Adam Pellich and Ryan Pulock, who in the same game, I think it was tonight, played in their 600th career NHL game.
Crazy. And these guys have been lifelong Islanders.
Yeah, they've
Right.
been born a month. They're born a month apart. They're both they're 31 years old, and they hit 600 games at the same time. They've come up at the same time, and they've been staples on that back end. Not necessarily from a point perspective, but from an all-around defenseman, they've held their own, and they've
believe
had
it or not-
years where they actually produced.
And both of them are career Islanders. Like career Islanders. They've never played for another NHL team. Crazy. Anyways,
Crazy.
um,
And by the way, Anders Lee at 35 years old, 25 points in 40 games. Look,
Not
can
bad.
you really ask for more? Everybody's chipping in on this team. You have Shabanov that, not doing as well as most of us maybe thought, but he picks it up when there's a lull. And then there's guys like Tsiplikov who have been absolutely terrible. So we're waiting for him to come out of his shell.
Yeah.
But Caleb Ritchie on and off, right? Simon Holmstrom now is going through a nice phase. So they've got different guys coming through for them every now and then. And that's what the New York Islanders are. That's what they've been for so long now. It's some way, somehow, someone gets it done on any given night and gets them the win.
so for the next teams, I was going to mention a couple of teams, or I was trying to decide. Like, I didn't want this episode to go over an hour. It already has, but so I really was trying really hard to decide what's a bigger honorable mention surprise for the 2025 year, and it was between like Buffalo and the streak that they're on lately. Right, that's a pretty impressive streak that they're on lately. I could have mentioned maybe the start that the Pittsburgh Penguins had. You know, we thought that this team was going to be absolutely horrible, and they're not horrible. They're actually like a pretty decent team in this league.
They just beat the Carolina Hurricanes 5-1.
Yeah, Brazeau goal and assist, by the way.
Carolina Hurricanes, who are without Kochetkov, who was out for the season because he's having knee surgery.
That's right. Boosie and Anderson are the players there moving forward. You could talk about Pittsburgh's Ben Kindle, right? Surprising 18-year-old player that has joined the team full time. You could talk about Justin Brazeau, who was never an NHLer before this, but somehow is here, who's played 24 games in the NHL and has 20 points. This season I'm talking about. Brian Rust is having a resurgence. Crosby's keeping up his, So that could have been the other team I spoke about for the honorable mention, but I decided to go with the Boston Bruins. And the reason I decided to go with Boston Bruins is because I think it was really exaggerated, the demise of the Bruins. We spoke about the fact that they had lost Bergeron, they had lost Marchand, they had lost Krejci. At least for the 2025 year, I thought they were going to be a dumpster fire. But somehow, Pasternak has continued his amazing play. He's driving the play. Geeky has like a 40% shooting percentage, but the guy keeps putting them in. Like 40 points, and I think he's number one in goal scoring in the league right now. And I'm going to just double check that because I think I'm right. But he's like the top goal scorer in the league. Who? Morgan Geeky. And because of Morgan Geeky, because of the re-emergence of Elias Lindholm.
He's second to McKinnon.
Okay, second to McKinnon. Sorry, McKinnon. Elias Lindholm has a resurgence. Like, this team looks like it's for real. I don't know what to tell you. It's a surprise for me. Swayman has played 27 games played, 18 freaking quality starts.
I think Swayman is the reason you feel that way. A full training camp with no contract dispute, was there from the beginning, has solidified that team's defense by just making stops regularly.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're still they're still second to last or third last in the Eastern Conference. They're at 42 points, but they're also only 3 points away from Florida for the second wild card spot. They're 3-5-2 in their last 10 games. I don't think it was overly exaggerated, the demise, but like I thought it would be the beginning of their demise, and we'll see. That could still be true, but you're right. Anyone expect Connor Geeky to score 25 goals again with a 50% shooting percentage or whatever it is he has? Like, no, Pasternak is still Pasternak.
To be fair, it's a 25% shooting percentage.
Yeah, 25 is the new 50. No, like, I get it. Like a lot of Boston has the assets to keep doing well. But again, I'm not sold on Elias Lindholm long term. McAvoy is not producing enough for me in the back end to help propel this team forward. I still think they're missing punch. I still think they're a decent team. They're never an easy out, which is why they probably won't finish last or second last in the standings. But I think they're in the middle of a retool, and it gets messy when you're in a retool. It gets really messy. You'll have really good spurts and you'll have really bad ones. And look, right now they're in a bad one, right?
Oh, I think the future though is bright for this team, right? Like they have guys like Matthew Poitras who looked pretty good in his short stint, right? They have James Higgins coming up. There's a few players here that they're starting to rebuild this team that could really make a difference. And Swayman's still young. He's 27 years old. Like he has another 5, 6, maybe even 7 years of productivity in front of him. So, if it was your choice, let's finish it with this. For the biggest surprises of 2025, honorable mentions, Junior, who would you have gone with between the three teams that I spoke about? Pittsburgh, Buffalo, or Boston, or would you have mentioned somebody else totally out of the blue, like Nashville wasn't a surprise.
Does it have to be positive?
No, it has to be a surprise.
The Winnipeg Jets. I mean, my bold prediction was they wouldn't make the playoffs, but they're second last in the Western Conference. They're tied with the Chicago Blackhawks with 34 points. Hellebuck did miss some time, but they just can't seem to get anything going right now. Even on a bad season, you think they're maybe a wild card team. They're not in a lottery position. They're 1-6-3 in their last 10 games. In PBLL, I stacked one of my teams with Jets players because they're playing 4 games. They have a nice schedule of playing against teams that allow goals, and then they scored one lousy goal versus Calvin Pickard and the Edmonton Oilers. So right. Something's not right there. I mean, Jonathan Taves was very frustrated, and he let it be known. They need to turn things around, and we'll see how that goes. But for me, that's a significant surprise in 2025.
Yeah, I agree with you. And guys, that does it. That does it for our mid-week episode, our fantasy lens, to finish off the 2025 year. Stay safe. I hope everybody has health and happiness moving into 2026. I hope your fantasy teams do better in 2026 as well, at least mine. Junior's already in first place in, I think, 2 of our leagues. So, Junior, how do you want to leave off 2025 for our listeners?
I just want to wish everyone a happy and healthy 2026. Whatever it is you went through in 2025, 2026 is a new year, and you control your own destiny and how you approach that. So we're sending you all the strength and courage to get through what will be an eventful 2026 for everybody. So happy New Year, Nick. Have a safe trip. Enjoy your time with your family. I will do my best to ride the ship while you're away. We'll still hear from you in the next episode, but I might be solo. But I'll make sure to have your voices on for sure. So happy New Year to everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Guys, be safe. Be safe out there. If you're out partying, make sure that you get an Uber or a taxi. Don't drink and drive. And happy New Year to everybody. Celebrate responsibly. And
if you are drinking and not driving, maybe it's a good time to just go on your socials and like, follow, subscribe.
Please.
At Partial Break Pod, guys. X, Instagram, TikTok.
Yeah,
you like and subscribe on YouTube. And you know what? Engage. Tell people they're wrong on their opinions. Tell us we're wrong on our opinions, or agree with us, for all I care. But just participate and enjoy the discussion.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's very important. We do not ask you guys to like and subscribe as often as we should. And we don't ask for all kinds of feedback. We don't ask, we hate haggling, but it does help the show if you do like and subscribe. So please feel free to do so.
Have a good week and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Did you know Microsoft has officially ended support for Windows 10? Upgrade to Windows 11 with an LG Gram laptop. Voted PC Mag's Reader's Choice Top Laptop Brand for 2025. Thin and ultra lightweight, the LG Gram keeps you productive anywhere. And Windows 11 gives you access to free security updates and ongoing feature upgrades. Visit lgusa.com/iHeart for great seasonal savings on LG Gram laptops with Windows 11. PC Mag Reader's Choice used with permission. All rights reserved.
Happy holidays! Want to give your host a gift? Consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show this holiday season. It really helps the show grow. From all of us at Believe, have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and a happy holiday.